I've been talking about this one since I saw that it was announced however many years ago it was, and then it was delayed.
This feels more like an Infinity War and Endgame type situation where it will be contained stories, but with storylines that go through.
A lot of the big stuff happens in the second part. So
I should have moved Dune up higher on my to read list, but you know how it goes.
you got until part 2.
A lot of it will be paid off in part 2.
I'll be interested to see how he does part 2 because there's some crazy like stuff that happens.
Dune 2 coming October 2023. We don't know too much about it yet.
Hopefully part 2 is as good as the first. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Unqualified Film Bros. We are here this week talking about the long-awaited part 2. Slightly delayed, but we got here. Dune part 2. Obviously, there's no other part 2s, but we're talking about Dune, as evidenced by my name and my general enthusiasm. I guess we'll
the fact that you're hosting.
Yeah, and the fact I'm hosting. But yeah, I guess we'll get right into it. What do you guys think?
He said the line.
I mean, I know
go
what
first.
I think, so.
I want to go first here, because I'm sick of not talking. I usually talk a lot at the beginning of these things. All right. This movie is such a goddamn triumph of filmmaking. Just first of all, part 1 is technically brilliant. Its primary purpose, and we talked about this, 2.5 years ago in our review of part 1, in like our 5th episode ever, that its primary purpose was to set up part 2. But then we get into part 2, and not only is the story incredible, but somehow the perfect combination of technical elements, sound, score, cinematography, production design, everything combined, visual effects, everything combines, and is somehow better in part 2 than it was in part 1. And I would say, just to be quick on my opening thoughts here, I just want to get out of the way that my opening night experience was enhanced by the fact that I saw this in Cinemark's D-Box format, which this is only my second time doing D-Box. First time was for Wakanda Forever, which didn't really require it at all.
Yeah.
But for this movie, my seat was rumbling basically the entire time. But whenever like the sandworms were doing their thing, I could feel the entire room was shaking, and not just from the sound, but like I was there. I was on Arrakis. It was fucking cool, man. So yeah, Dune Part 2. That it gets a good review from me.
It was fucking cool, man. Kind of sums up my review of the movie too.
Yep.
Like,
Seems like a crowd pleaser.
yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna
That makes
pick
Ben
out
happy.
a specific moment that I thought was absolutely gorgeous, and I think you guys probably will agree. But the sort of the negative and black and white on Gady Prime, incredible. I just thought it looked amazing.
That's
like,
complete Denny invention, because
yeah.
none of that was in the books.
Really?
Oh my
Yeah.
God, did that look awesome?
Yeah, he did the whole sun thing.
Yeah,
the
it
sun
was incredible. I mean, that was really stunning. But I mean, that's the kind of thing that you go in and it's like, that was one moment of a 3 hour long film. And that was maybe what, like 10 minutes,
Yeah.
15 minutes at most of the film. And that's like just one thing that is gorgeous of this film. You can pick basically any other moment.
I think honestly, like, I mean, it's like we'll probably talk about this later, but it's both maintain and then kind of exceed the already like masterful technical stuff
from the previous films is like remarkable, honestly. Like just like, I mean, obviously you probably have the same team to like do it, but still just like utterly gorgeous, this whole film.
The idea of it being utterly gorgeous, I don't think I have ever seen a movie where I'm thinking the entire time every single shot is stunning.
Mm.
This is probably the most visually pleasing film. Not like I enjoyed looking at it, but the most I did enjoy looking at it, but the most like the best presented film I think I've ever seen.
Mm.
And I've seen over 1,000 movies, so
Yeah, I think
high
it's
praise.
an
Yeah.
unbelievable filmmaking achievement. Certainly, the melding of CGI and practical things is great. Like, you really feel like it's a composite thing, which is something that even movies, like Marvel with all their budgets cannot achieve a lot of the time, if ever.
Certainly
Um,
not in many years.
I mean, we see with like the creator, you don't need a huge special effects or CGI budget to make something look beautiful. I mean, that film looked great too.
yeah, I mean, they did have a big budget, but they clearly used it in effective ways, including an amazing cast.
Mhm.
I think my shot of the film, that the one that really stuck with me was the him saying "Long live the fighters" to the hordes of Fremen, and then when they actually fight, it's
Did we
Paul.
plan this, Ben? We did not plan this.
Honestly, Ben, I thought you were gonna say the part where Austin Butler and Stellan Skarsgård kissed, but you know.
Improvised. Our dear friend Elvis improvised that.
Oh yeah, that was an improv.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
but no, I really love the scene where Paul starts marching towards, they're starting their attack. It's just Paul, and it's very distorted because of the sand and the heat.
Mm.
I think they did actually film this in like Saudi Arabia or somewhere like
Namibia. They actually filmed in Namibia because the dunes in Namibia are some of the highest in the world.
Oh wow.
that.
That-
And I think that that's actually like a natural thing that ended up happening there. But it looks so cool. It's like in the distance, almost like a shadowy thing, like phantoms, and then they come and they keep arriving. It gets bigger and bigger. It's a phenomenal shot.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think it does do some departures. I don't know if any of you read the book, but I think I like the departures a bit. It sort of solidifies some of the later themes,
Mm.
later books, like Paul
Now,
kind of.
Ben, just to your point about the book quickly, Declan, I have a question for you.
Mhm.
I rewatched our episode about Dune Part 1 the other night,
Mm. Mhm.
and Ben told you that you had until Dune Part 2 to read the book. Have you read
Oh,
the book?
did he actually say that?
He did.
You had a
I
while. You had 3
In a
years.
while.
Now, I will confess, I have not read the book, but
Mhm.
that made so much of what I saw in this movie that much cooler.
Mhm.
Honestly, I think the book enhances the movies.
Mhm.
I feel like a lot of the things you understand a lot more deeply if you read the book, especially like
Mhm.
the first book.
Ben, that's
Then the
that's
later
all well and
books,
good, but answer the question, Mr. Rocket.
I have not read the
I
book.
don't
Read
think
the
he
Okay,
book.
has.
thank you for your honesty.
To be clear, yeah.
So
Hey, I haven't
Ben,
read it
like,
either. No judgment. I just thought it
it,
was a
like what you're
check-in
getting at is
opportunity.
that like you love and have such an appreciation for um Denis' appreciation and love and understanding for the work of not only the book but also everything that's kind of come before it. Is that kind of what
Yeah,
you're
I
saying?
mean, I think he worked on this with Frank Herbert's son, who wrote a few books of his own.
Mm.
I don't mean to be mean, but they're not that good.
Mm.
Um, they kind of
And
like
thank God
they're like
that Denny
fillers.
is only thank God that Denny is only uh adapting Dune and Dune Messiah.
Mm.
Yeah, he
He
might
said
do.
he said after the third movie, if we get greenlit for the third movie, which after this he will,
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's not doing anymore. He's doing the trilogy and then he's out.
Well,
So if
no,
if
no,
someone decides to make another movie, it's going to be.
he said he'd rethink it, but if
I don't
you
believe
be a
it.
director for Children of Dune and certainly God Emperor of Dune, David Cronenberg is the one you want. The body horror man would do great with the man who becomes one with the sandworm. It's just like the fly, but with sandworms.
I'm pretty sure that's just Human Centipede, but
God.
No. He merges with it.
What if they got David Lynch back? No, God.
yeah.
David Lynch
But he doesn't
is-
make a sequel to
yeah.
Denis Villeneuve's film. He makes a
Mm.
sequel to his own film
Oh my gosh, that would be the
with
most.
Denis Villeneuve's cast.
There are a few things I think that he made homages to the David Lynch version of the film.
Oh yeah.
So that means that Denis Villeneuve has watched David Lynch's version more than David Lynch has, because David Lynch has never watched his version. In case you guys were wondering.
I hope one day
He watched
one
it
day,
in the edit.
I hope one day.
No, because
Really?
because the studio edited it.
Oh.
And they took out all those
I didn't know
lot of
that.
weird stuff. So the final theatrical version he's never seen because he knows they took out a ton of stuff that
Did he disown it or?
I mean essentially
Doesn't
if you
matter,
don't
his
want
name's on it.
I
talk shit about it.
I
But
hope one
this is
day I sit
thing.
next to him on a plane and I can take out my phone and show him his version of Dune.
No.
But Declan, then you'd have to buy the plane's in-flight Wi-Fi, and are you willing to do that?
Unless I
Download.
download it previously through.
Okay.
In anticipation for sitting on a flight with David Lynch.
So I have to do a lot of planning.
Yeah, you know what? I would expect nothing less than for you to put in the work for that. So I respect it.
Thank you.
But I do think a lot of the changes that he made, circling back to the movie, I think the changes are good because the first book can be ambiguous. It's not ambiguous, but you have to sort of like really put the pieces together. I think with the movie, it captures a lot of those themes in a more condensed way. But certainly like the seeds of the Bene Gesserit plotting, the religion, and everything. And then they also shortened the timeline. So
Oh really?
Yeah, wasn't there supposed to be a time jump between parts 1 and 2?
I mean, I think that was maybe the original intent, and then he decided against it. But in the book, it's like 4 or 5 years or something.
Yeah.
That, becomes one with the Fremen, and his sister Aaliyah is born.
Oh really?
Yeah, instead of being a fetus, she's actually like a 5-year-old child or something.
I would just like to point out this is the second movie we've talked about on this podcast where a pregnant mother speaks with her unborn fetus.
Blonde.
Well, it's actually
Yup.
technically prequel.
Yeah.
And I don't
Semantics.
remember. I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, I only remember it because I remember being like, what the fuck am I watching when it happened?
Yeah.
I'm talking about Blonde, not Dune.
Yeah.
Well, maybe our well-paid editor can cut in our entire episode about Blonde in the middle of this episode right now.
Hell yeah. Thanks, well-paid editor. You've earned your paycheck.
All right, now that we're back after that long episode, if you're still with us.
So I think it's fine. They just did it. They condensed it to a few months. It's really weird. The novel, Leah is like a psychotic 5-year-old child because they call him
so she's Fade Ratha.
No, she's not Fade Ratha. Like, so it's the whole thing with the water of life that she drinks it while she's pregnant, and so the fetus essentially becomes preborn because what the water of life lets you do is like inherit all the memories, your genetic memories. So it essentially is a fully grown human, or in the mind, and it's just the fetus.
That's so crazy, bro.
So she actually is born in the book, and she's the one that kills Harkonnen. And
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And she
I can't
tormented
believe some
the
dude
Reverend
wrote this
Mother.
and made this up. Like, good for him.
Also the fact that this existed prior to Star Wars. Like I feel like I
Well,
can't like
George Lucas took a lot from Dune.
no, yeah, yeah.
If you guys wanna, so I was thinking about this the other day,
Mhm.
and I realized, so we get Anakin Skywalker. So Paul Atreides is the Kazats Haderach, but he's not actually, because he ends up not wanting to embrace his destiny to become a sandworm. So his son is the one that actually embraces his destiny, just like Anakin Skywalker.
And Luke Skywalker. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's a weirder, more fucked up destiny, but yeah, you know.
I don't think they're gonna have Timothy Chalamet become part sandworm.
No, it's not Timothy Chalamet, it's his son.
No, I know, but
They actually get Tom Holland to play his son. No, that's the most cursed idea.
I'll become a sandworm. I'll do it for free. I'll do it for real.
now
true.
David Cronenberg, if you hear that, Ben's
Ben-
willing to work for free and be cast in that movie.
And become an actual sandworm.
Yep. He'll do it.
Oh,
Dedication.
buddy, I don't know how to tell you this. That's CGI, pal.
Look, with the cost cutting that's going on at Warner Brothers, I wouldn't be surprised if Ben gets a call one of these days.
Very true. Very true. You know, they have like so little money that they have to just destroy entire films. You know,
You're in debt. What are you gonna do? You really
No comment. No comment, Your Honor.
$1
billion films and you're somehow in debt. Impressive.
Great job, you guys. No, but also I should give credit to also just the entire cast. I'll say I do. I think
Timothy's acting his ass off. He's doing a great job.
This is his best performance as far as I'm concerned.
Mhm.
Like I didn't really buy him in part 1. Part 2.
Mhm. Some people are also saying this is Zendaya's best film. What do you think of that? Do you disagree? Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
What's
She
her
was
other
fine.
best
She was
film?
very, very good.
Mhm.
I don't
And
think
what?
this is.
But what's her best film?
Yeah, this is her most substantive role outside of like the MCU, I think.
I would definitely say Spider-Man: Homecoming is her best role.
Mhm.
I would have to take a closer
not
look at her
watched
filmography.
Euphoria. I will say.
Oh, that's true. She is very good in Euphoria.
Yeah, but that's not a film.
No, I know.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. Yeah. Also,
you know what? I'm looking at her filmography to date. Yeah, Dune Part 2 is probably her best performance.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Mhm.
I was a big fan of Christopher Walken. He was a delight.
Go on, Ben, do the voice.
So, what do you know about this Muad'Dib?
I will also say that the thing that Ben told us about that's like the way that the song what's the name of the song called?
Weapon of Choice.
Weapon of choice. Like Weapon of Choice is like I'm now like wait did Denis Villeneuve like cast Christopher Walken based off
no
that
idea.
music?
He did pay homage to David Lynch's stuff in a few areas. I wouldn't be surprised if he's just like, you know what, Christopher Walken fits this.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's great. He's perfect for the role. He doesn't have to say too much. He's just got that. Also, it's he's not supposed to be like intimidating too. So I like the casting choice. I think
Christopher Walken is not intimidating, so
Yeah,
that's
not at
very
all.
much goal. That is goal achieved.
He seems very much like we need someone to fill the role of old man who will get overthrown by the end of this movie, and we need him to appear in 3 scenes. That's Christopher Walken in this movie. He's very good. Not enough of him.
This is American politics.
But I'll just never get over like his pronunciation of Muad'Dib just lives rent free in my head. It's unbelievable.
There are worse things to have in your head, Ben.
It's great. I just can't stop laughing.
Also question I have for you, Ben. I feel like I heard somewhere, is Florence Pugh's character like even bigger in the book, or like is that a
She's um more present, but then not that much.
okay?
She kind of
She's
is like
definitely
the
bigger in
voice,
Dune Messiah.
kind of like a narrator
Mm-hmm.
at times,
Okay.
Well,
discussing things from the future though,
Mm.
as
we
if it's
also we also saw Johnny as a narrator figure in the first part,
Mhm.
and now Princess Arulin takes on that role in this film
Mm.
to a
Mm.
lesser
the,
extent.
the book
But
starts with like a little intro by like a diary entry from Princess Irulan, which they like allude to as she's like
they do it. That's the
present.
that's the beginning of the movie.
Yeah. They do it more like a captain's log. In the book, it's more like a writing down history.
Mm.
Um, I think it's supposed to allude to some like the old Roman
Mm.
like Plutarch and things like that.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Just speaking about the cast real quick, can we talk about Javier Bardem?
he's great. Very much more a comedic character in the movie than in the book. In the book, he's supposed to be a very serious, fanatic.
Mm. He
But
he's
I think it fits really well.
I feel like they the comedic moments don't feel like unrealistic almost was what I
Absolutely.
would
No,
say.
no, I think that's the genius part about it is it's they're comedic the first times, and then later on, the more he like repeats them, you realize the horrifying fact that they will follow him no matter what he does. He could be like, "No, it's not me," and they're like, "Oh, he's so humble,"
Yeah.
It's Life of Brian 2.0.
That's
Honestly.
brilliant. I mean, that's exactly what you want in like one sort of sycophant
Mhm.
follower that will sort of help shepherd and gather everybody else for you. Like it's brilliant.
Mhm.
And he's so perfect
Yeah.
opposite like Josh Brolin, who by the way we're still waiting on his blood type from the trivia episode a year and a half ago. Working on that, still figuring out if my win was legitimate. I will own up to that. We don't know yet. Um, but the two of them playing opposite each other for so much of the second and third acts, when they each have these completely like they're almost foils in their relationship to each other, and they're that stems from their wildly different connections to Paul. And I think seeing the two of them sort of provide a counterweight to see, the two sides of Paul, whether he will, you know, continue on his path to be, Paul Atreides, Duke of Arrakis, son of Leto, or Muad'Dib, the Messiah of, the Dune,
Mhm.
the chosen one to lead the Fremen. And so, Gurney is very much a salt of the earth. I know where your father hid the atomics, very realistic type mentor, which a role he served in the first film and in the novel. While, like you guys said, Stilgar is a religious fanatic who, yes, while primarily serving, I guess we're calling it a comedic purpose here, especially early on, um, he's still very much showing the more fantastic side of what Paul's destiny truly is. And by the way, Ben, I just want to say that since you've read the book, uh, the comedic nature of Bardem's performance was the only thing about Stilgar that was not as written. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. All right. All right.
Picking George from
Um,
the call right now. No.
yeah, I mean, so in the books, like it's all about Paul being well um, balanced, I guess. He's supposed to be the perfect, not only perfectly bred, but perfectly trained. So he's trained by Duncan Idaho and Gurney because they're both the best warriors. And then he's also trained by Thufir, the Mentat, and then he's trained in the Bene Gesserit ways. He's like a Superman. And then he's got the Fremen support too. But there's an interesting parallel between Gurney and Stilgar, which is the fanaticism, where Stilgar is a fanatic because of the religious um, beliefs, and it's an interesting parallel, but also a divide, and it ends up doing the same thing. But the religious fanaticism is unfounded, right? It's written, and it's essentially propaganda. But the Atreides fanaticism is because of their loyalty to the house, because they actually view their actions as being good enough to follow them along that path, to inspire that. And then you combine it with the Harkonnens, whose loyalty is completely dominated by fear. There's an interesting sort of thing going on there, where you see everyone is really devoted, but for different reasons. And what ends up happening is Gurney is devoted to Paul because he's an Atreides, and you get all the Atreides members who follow him, and then all the Fremen follow him because they believe he is the chosen one.
Let's talk about the Harkonnens for a second, because what we get, first of all, having not read the book, the reveal of Paul and Lady Jessica as Harkonnens it fucking floored me.
Pretty sure Elvis figures that out in the books, but I can't remember.
That was it was wild. But Stellan Skarsgård, Dave Bautista, and Austin Butler are our three main Harkonnen guys here. The first two, I noticed significantly less screen time than in part one. Especially Stellan Skarsgård. He was such a big part of part one. And
I would disagree. I definitely felt Dave Bautista was there was less of him, but I felt like he was still on screen for a fair amount.
Oh my god! And when Gurney kills him, it's so fucking awesome.
It's kind of funny too, because Rabban is like always yelling at people, and he's a psychopath, and kills everybody. But faces Gurney and dies in like 1 second.
Also, I just want to point out,
by the way,
the MCU,
if it wasn't spelled out in part one, the Harkonnens like kind of suck at fighting. And these are the best fighters like in the galaxy.
That's why they need like a billion Harkonnens to fight.
That's also why they asked for the Sardaukar, like the most elite fighting force.
In the MCU, it's Dave Bautista going after Josh Brolin to avenge his family. And in Dune,
oh yeah, that's very well. Yeah, I saw that too.
But and then you get Austin Butler here too. And when Feyd-Rautha is teased in early reviews as one of the most iconic villain performances of the 21st century, as downright bone-chilling and terrifying, I didn't see enough of that. Like, he's very good, but I don't see enough of the character. And then he sort of, that final duel with Paul and Feyd-Rautha that scene changed my life. But I mean, just, he's a one-off character in this film.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, I think it's the kind of the point of the character is that he's just really sexed up and violent. Like, he's supposed to be part of their grand breeding plan, but I don't think they really thought this one through. Yeah, I mean,
the Bene Gesserit did, by having Leia Seydoux' character seduce him and secure the genes.
Yes. I mean, that's kind of what I mean.
But you're right. Baron Harkonnen did not think that one through. And the Emperor certainly didn't either.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I mean, Feyd is part of their grand breeding plan.
What's the deal with the Emperor? Like, why is he so weak?
Well, he's been ruling forever. Like, that's kind of the thing, it's the pseudo like Roman Empire or any of the empires long enough with just a line to rule after death. They really didn't have as much control, and they were basically being controlled by the Bene Gesserit anyway.
Is this film your Roman Empire, Benjamin?
It's very much based on like parts of the Roman Empire. I mean, the Atreides trace their name back to
Ben
Atreus.
didn't understand the question.
I know, I'm not answering that question.
Fine. Okay.
I'm just repeating.
I'm so I apologize.
Fair enough.
But I thought he fit his role in that, like, he's very menacing when he shows up, right? If you see him too much, he becomes less menacing. I mean, it's the same way that like Thanos was menacing. It's like he was really menacing in the few scenes. The more you see of him, the more of like, even though he's crazy, more of like a compassionate character you see his like
I
ethos.
mean,
I think it's
he's the protagonist of Infinity War.
yeah, so I think it's better that for someone like Fade Ratha, who is literally just a psychopath, um, you leave him
Yeah,
on the screen for when you need him to be scary.
like that
I don't know.
duel.
I think it's
Otherwise,
just like he had such high expectations based off of just written reviews
Yeah,
of like,
I think that's the bottom
comparing
line
him
for
to
me.
Heath Ledger's Joker. Like the expectations were sky.
well, you can't
Like,
can't
and you know,
credit.
you can't always you can only take it with a grain of salt, but
I
still
I think he I
you
think
can't
he's
ignore
really
the
good
fact
though.
that those reviews exist and that they were out there and
Right.
that
But
like
all I will say is he what's his name? Anthony Hopkins had 15 minutes of screen time for Silence of the Lambs.
True.
Very creepy. One of the most
Anne
menacing
Hathaway
films.
had like 7 minutes for Les Mis.
And those two each won Oscars. Austin Butler's not going to win an Oscar for playing Fade Ratha.
No, but I'm just saying, you can have a really good performance in the time allotted.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not denying that. And I said he was very, very good. Just saying I wanted more.
That's fine. I think more would have almost hurt the film just because you have too much of this character who is really just known for being crazy.
I just wanted a different image of
He
Austin
does
Butler in my head than Elvis.
he does have that weird sense of honor though,
Yeah.
that I always found interesting. Like a psychopath with honor. He just really was fighting.
That's unique.
He's like Lalo Salamanca for all my fellow Better Call Saul fans, to an extent.
All I can see is the Sting portrayal in my head.
I watched an interview that Austin Butler gave on Fallon the other night, and he talked about he was a guest on the show to talk about this film, and he said that he met Sting at the premiere,
Oh,
and just getting to talk about the character and their chosen sort of approaches to playing the character was pretty cool. You guys should check it out.
Just
It was a brief moment in the interview, but it was still pretty cool.
it's sort of fascinating how like now like it's like okay good now that Dune has like properly gotten its like great adaptation like the 80s Dune can like be more just like appreciated for what it is to an
and man,
extent.
there are tons of people that loved the old Dune.
That is true. That is
For
true.
its ridiculousness. I mean,
Like our friend Dexter, who's not here to defend himself.
Okay. It's Dexter.
He hates that movie.
What the old Dune?
Yeah, David Lynch's.
I mean, it's an incomplete vision.
If we ever do an episode about David Lynch's Dune, he's joining.
It does have some like redeeming factors in that just some things are really weird, like the navigators look absolutely crazy. Like little brains and encased in spice. But yeah, it's very different. It's kind of cheesy, very David Lynch at times.
Very 80s sci-fi.
But very you can notice it's very chopped up. There's so much stuff that is just like
like Joss Whedon's Justice League.
Or
The Rise of Skywalker.
The Rise of Skywalker is probably a better because I don't know what was in those scenes, but man, that's together monster.
I want the 3-hour JJ cut because I know that probably maybe kind of there might almost be a decent movie in there.
No. I don't think so.
Wholeheartedly agree, George.
But it could be better than the chopped up piece of shit that we got.
And that's all we can ask for, right? For a franchise that we all have loved for our entire lives.
Yeah.
Well, we're diverting so much off course. I think we all really enjoyed this movie. It's something that can't really be captured in words. You have to go see it in the theater. See it in IMAX if you can.
Yeah.
But just get to the theater because it's one of those that is worthy of the big screen.
Yeah, see this on as big a screen as possible. And I didn't see this in IMAX.
I did not.
I might go try. Max, you stop giving me that look. You saw it in 70 millimeter. Just shut the fuck
No,
up.
I saw it in Dolby. I didn't see it in 70 mil.
Oh, well, how was it in Dolby?
It was sick.
Mm-hmm.
It was sick.
Right on. Right on.
I'm trying to see it in IMAX.
I have to see it in IMAX before it leaves theaters.
Yeah.
I watched part 1 on my laptop because it was a simultaneous release. I still have not seen part 1 on a big screen.
Oh my goodness.
This was why you don't like it. You're like, oh, it's so boring. It's like,
hey, I liked it. I liked it. 4 out of 5 stars.
Oh, really?
I saw it. In
4 out of 5? That low? Jeez.
David Lynch, I'm so sorry you had to hear
part 1.
George.
Part 1 average on Letterboxd is a 3.9.
Yeah,
so I gave it 4 out of 5. That's higher than average. Yeah, and you know what? Part 2, I loved, gave it 4.5, and it's lower than average, 4.6.
I've yet to rank it, but it's going to be 5 stars.
Yeah.
Well, I think, we know at the end of the year when we count down our top 5s, I think we know what Ben's number 1 is going to be.
You said that last time, and I think I had Nope at number 1 when part 1 came out.
Oh yeah. I think that's
no, right. You didn't have Nope, and that was 2021. Trying to remember, you had
or maybe it was
that was like Power of the Dog or something.
I think it was Power of the Dog, and Nope was 2, and then Dune was 3.
Nope came out the next year.
Because Power of the Dog was so good though.
That was so criminally snubbed. Everyone's like, oh, they snubbed this person from Oscar. What the fuck happened there?
They gave Jane Campion Best Director.
It's a weird situation where because it was the front, I think that then hurt it in the actual
everyone's like, well, I like an underdog story.
So I'm not gonna go with Power of the Dog, honestly.
It's like what happened with Hillary Clinton. It's like, well, she's already gonna win. I'm not gonna vote.
Yeah. Honestly.
All right, who's getting off topic now?
All right, well, any final thoughts?
I have so many. This movie is it's sublime.
Sand.
Yes, sand. Lots of sand and spice. But for real, even if you're not someone who usually pays attention to the technical elements of a film, we haven't even talked about Hans Zimmer's score yet.
That's okay every time, and it's just
because it's dynamite. But what we get technically from this film, even if you're more about the story and just the characters and the performances, that's fine. That's a perfectly normal way to watch a movie. I do that too. But if you are someone at least a couple of us who hone in on the technical side of things, pay attention to how absolutely breathtaking this movie looks. Pay attention to the sound, because even when the score is not playing, it's just incredible. The rumble of the sandworms, the ships descending through the atmosphere, the cheers of this crowd behind me, which is obviously not a Zoom background. The sound is flawless. The visuals are spectacular. Production design, again, the meld of practical versus digital effects. There's really nothing, speaking technically, there's nothing to blink an eye at in this movie. It's perfect.
And I will also say part 1 and part 2 work really well together. There's a lot of scenes that mirror each other.
Watch part 1 and then immediately go to the theater and see part 2.
There's the knife fight with Fade. It's it's a payoff to the knife fight with Gurney in the beginning, where he stabs him when he threatens him with a knife to the throat. Same thing.
Oh dang!
I gotta rewatch part one.
Might have to do exact same.
It's great. Honestly, I kind of like some of the sounds in part one are even better than part two, just because you get to hear the damn Imperial whatever his face is.
Oh, yeah.
What do you call it? Gregorian chant or whatever.
You're gonna bring me back to junior year, and I don't want to go back to junior year.
Not Gregorian. What the fuck is it? Throat singing?
Mongolian throat singing?
Yeah, Mongolian throat.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, Mongolian throat singing, not Gregorian chant. Different things.
Yeah.
Very different.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. I guess next week we'll see you for Arthur the King. See you next time.
Good night.
Have a good night. Please
Night.
go see Dune Part 2.